say you're a beginning budgeter and you're just getting started trying to figure this whole thing out, or you've been budgeting for many years and you're still trying to get ahead of your financial goals, today we're going to talk about what it means to get 1 month ahead on our bills, and then I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help us get started on our journey. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then kick back and relax, grab yourself a snack, and let's get into how to get 1 month ahead on our bills right now. Hey guys, welcome to my video. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about how to get 1 month ahead on our bills. How do you define being 1 month ahead? I want you to drop in the comments your definition of what being 1 month ahead, and I also want you to put in the comments letting us know if you are at least 1 month ahead. My definition of being 1 month ahead is having at least 1 month's bills saved up in my account, where in the event, if something were to ever happen, at least I have 1 month of expenses taken care of while I figure out the rest. So when we're on our budgeting journey, we have different things that we strive for. And one of those things is being 1 month ahead. But how do we get there? How do we get there when we are focused on paying the same month's bills, let alone we're trying to get 1 month ahead? Well, today I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help us get there. And let's get started with tip number 1. Tip number 1 into getting a month ahead on our bills is, first and foremost, we got to analyze our budget, right? When is the last time you took a good look at your budget to see all of the bills that you would need to save for to get a month ahead? Is there some things you can cut out? What's the necessities? So the first thing you want to do is go through your budget, see what all you would need in case of an emergency that you want to save for. So for instance, is saving for the cable a necessity? Maybe, maybe not. If you work from home, it may be. You may need Wi-Fi. But if you don't work from home and in the event something happens, do you need your cable? So what you want to do is analyze those things in your monthly budget. What are those expenses? And let's categorize them. Let's look at, okay, if something happened and I want to try to save 1 month ahead, let me try to save for this first. Let me try to save for this second. Let me try to save for these things third. Because while the cable and those subscriptions and those streaming services may not be of importance when we're trying to save for 1 month ahead, they can play a role in, once you do get 1 month ahead, putting some money aside for those things if you feel that those are of value for you and you want to save for them. So tip number 1 before we can get started with anything is we got to go through that budget. We got to analyze it. We got to break it down to see what it is that we're trying to get 1 month ahead on. Tip number 2, while you're analyzing that budget, it's time to look at what are some expenses we can cut. This is probably something we should probably be looking at in the long run anyway, not just getting 1 month ahead. So I want you guys to put in the comments, what are some expenses you could probably cut back on that you probably don't need, but we just pay for it anyway because it's a part of our monthly routine. So some of those expenses we can probably cut back on is we can probably cut back on our eating out budget. We can probably cut back on some of these subscriptions that we have every month. We can probably look at cutting back on some of our monthly bills, like our cell phone bill, our cable bill, our gym memberships. So while you're analyzing your budget to see what you want to be a month ahead on, let's go ahead and look at how we can cut back on some of those expenses to help us have extra money so that we can put in those categories to get 1 month ahead. So tip number 3 is a very important tip to me anyway, and this is the rule I live by. When you're analyzing that budget and you're going through that budget and you're cutting expenses and what you can cut back on, now what you need to do is prioritize by importance. So you're probably like, Chris, what do you mean prioritize by importance? So once we get our final number of what we want to save for to get 1 month ahead, that number probably ranges for most of us between $2,500 and $5,000. And that's just that's just a range. Yours may be lower, yours may be higher. But when you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to save $5,000 to be 1 month ahead, that can be overwhelming and intimidating, right? You don't want to look at it that way. What you want to do is approach it in baby steps. Prioritize those expenses by importance and save that way. For example, priority would mean rent or mortgage first, property taxes if you have a mortgage, utilities, car note, groceries, because I put groceries in my monthly expenses because I don't know about you. In the event something happens, I need to still be able to pay for groceries, right? So you want to prioritize your expenses by importance, and then you want to start tackling one at a time. So I'm going to start with my mortgage first. So for instance, let's say my mortgage was $1,000 a month. Okay, that's my first goal. I'm going to try and save that $1,000 first, and then I know I have my mortgage money set aside. Then I'm going to tackle the next goal. So say my next goal is my property expenses, and they're, I don't know, $1,500 a year. That's next. Now I'm going to save for my property taxes, and now that's done. And then next, I'm going to save for my car note, and then so on and so forth. When you're trying to save for anything, sometimes it's really just a mindset. You have to trick your mind into making yourself motivated to save for certain things. And that's one way you can get 1 month ahead, is baby wins to your savings. Because when you look at that entire amount, oh, I got to save $5,000 to get a month ahead, that can be discouraging. But if you break it down into categories by priority and save that amount and then the next amount, you'll see that you'll get there way quicker than when you were looking at that total amount. Before we get into the final 2 tips on how to get a month ahead, I hope you guys are enjoying this video. So please make sure you go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I'm on my road to 5K, and I just want to thank everyone so much for subscribing to my channel and following along and supporting my journey. I really do appreciate you guys. Now, let's get into tip number 4. All right, tip number 4. Tip number 4 is fairly simple, in my opinion. Tip number 4 is making sure you have a separate bank account set up for your month ahead savings. So what I mean by that is when you're trying to save for anything, whenever you're trying to save for anything, but today we're talking about month ahead, you want to put that in its own bank account. This way, it's not in the mix with your other money that you may have for your, daily expenses. You can see that money growing. It's off to the side, so you know that you're not touching that money. You are not using those funds for anything. You're only using the money you have allotted in this account. A lot of people will have 2 checking accounts for, their bills, and then another one for fun or whatever else the other one may be. You may want to look into starting a high yield savings account for the money that you're saving to get 1 month ahead, because while you're saving, you could be gaining interest on that money. So tip number 4 is fairly simple. Start looking into setting up separate bank accounts. So not only can you collect interest, but you can see your money grow, and that is a reward. That's a win to help motivate you to keep pushing forward to get 1 month ahead. All right, and now we're here to step 5, and step 5 is, I would say step 5 is like very, very important. Step 5 is one that we probably should all practice to help us not only get 1 month ahead, but to get several months ahead once we get there. And step 5 is using any additional income you may have to fund that 1 month ahead account. And the first thing that comes to mind when I say use additional income, I don't mean to go get a side hustle or anything like that if you're not able to. The one thing that I think about when I say use additional income is what we call magic months. How many of you guys are familiar with a magic month paycheck? Well, if you don't know what it means, let me break it down for you. Magic month paycheck is when you get an additional paycheck throughout the year based on your pay period. So if you're bi-weekly, you'll get, instead of 2 paychecks a month, you'll get 3. If you're paid weekly, instead of 4 paychecks a month, you'll get paid 5. And many times we get this throughout the year. I say my magic months, I get them twice a year. And I know when it is, because the beginning of the year, I always check the calendar to see when my magic months will be. And this year, my magic months were in March, and then I have another one coming up in September. And this is a great way to look at additional money that's coming in that you would normally get, that you can put to the side and budget and not even think about it. So what you want to do with that magic month check, if you're able to, is pretend like it's not there. Pretend like it's not there. Take that paycheck and put it into that month ahead account. It's that simple. If you don't get a magic month check because you're paid monthly, there's other things that you can look at. for additional income. You can look at your tax refund checks if you get those. You can look at any bonuses you may receive from work. You may get annual bonuses from work, or some of us may get quarterly bonuses. You may even want to look into getting a side hustle to make that extra money to get into your month ahead. So getting additional income is always a great way to build your month ahead fund, and it's always a great place to begin your budget, and then you can continue to grow that savings account from there. So those are my 5 tips on how to get a month ahead with using the resources that we already use every day. So comment down below if you're already 1 month ahead, or if you're not 1 month ahead, comment down below if you're not 1 month ahead, but you do plan on working towards it, because it's a great goal. Don't let it overwhelm you. If you look at these steps we just talked about today, it should be stress-free, right? It should be stress-free, and we're just thinking of ways on how we can get there. And it doesn't have to be a race. Doesn't have to be a race, okay? You don't have to do it in 20 days or 30 days, but we do want to look at ways on how we can get there to make ourselves financially stable. Thank you again for watching this video, and I will see you guys back here next week. Bye!